Awesome. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Emergence podcast, an evolving inquiry into the human mind and spirit. This is your higher consciousness podcast hosted by myself and Mark. Today, we're going to talk about one of my favorite topics, synchronicities. And you've probably heard this term in many of our episodes. And today, we're actually going to show you practically what is synchronicity and what does it mean. So we're going to begin with a personal story, and Mark, who actually understands it way better than myself, will give his take on it. So, hey, Mark.
I don't think I understand it better than you. It's your synchronicity, so you understand it.
Yeah, synchronicities. Well, first of all, before I share my story, and make sure, guys, to stick around to the end because we're going to do a deep dive on synchronicities and what it means. But let's give to the audience a quick, maybe one or two sentence definition. What is synchronicity?
Well, synchronicity is meaningful coincidences. So, coincidences that have meaning for you. So, they're always involving the subjective. It's always about a person. And it can be about a place. It can be, there's numerological synchronicities, which are quite um, bringing together, if that's a term. But what they have in common is that they're meaningful coincidences. The other thing about them is they're sudden and they're unusual and they're uncanny.
So it's not predictable and you can't plan for them, you can't prepare for them, they just happen, right?
You right, they just happen, and the question is, do you recognize them or do you not? And if you do
Oh,
recognize them, they have meaning for you. And the more you get into them, the more meaning there is.
so I guess we're gonna do like a quick um example of synchronicity, which is actually how Mark and I met. We both wrote a book exploring the same topics. The link to our books is actually in the description. So if you look at our channel, the Emergence Podcast, you will also have links to our book. So
It's quite a
what's
meaningful
it?
coincidence.
That was a meaningful coincidence. So the House
Oh,
of Doral
totally.
and Pretty Girl Complex. We wrote the book, we met at a writing community, and we started having weekly discussions. Eventually, after about a year, we decided to put together this podcast. This very podcast is a synchronic event. Would you agree, Mark?
Yeah, synchronic means um, coming together at the same time. It comes from chron, which is the root of chronicity or synchronicity. So, yeah, they're events that happen at the same time. Simultaneity is almost the same thing, but it just focuses on the time element. But this are events. They are events that are synchronized.
And actually, when you look at a simple synchronicity, an example, it's something that you're thinking about pizza and your mom calls you and says, "Hey, honey, come over for pizza." Or in my case, a very vivid dream I had was my brother dying on a motorcycle. When I called him, he didn't pick up, his wife didn't pick up, and eventually they called me and said, "We're on the motorcycle. We'll call you back." So I must have spooked him, or the dream itself spooked him, but he decided to sell his motorcycle. So that idea that while you're dreaming of your brother's accident and he's on the motorcycle, maybe we have anticipated an accident. It didn't happen, but it was very meaningful for both of us because actually my brother had close calls with the motorcycle lately, and he took it as a sign. People always see
Excellent.
the sign, and then you adjust course of action, correct, Mark?
Yeah, absolutely. And you can see how that's a shared meaningful coincidence because it's a family. And most coincidences happen to
Mhm.
people you're familiar with and family. I mean, they do happen out of the blue, and you go like, "Wow, has this person entered my life?" And boy, do they feel familiar to me. And that's usually synchronicity, right?
And the kind of a deeper example that we're going to cover today, and we're going to go over it because there's sometimes multiple synchronicities that happen within like one big synchronicity, right? So Basically, this week we've done two amazing podcast interviews. We're going to actually, we have Dr. Tarfor that was on here. We just released the video. We have another one coming up, Dr. Gupta, that's going to be released in 2 weeks. So make sure to subscribe and check out the episode. And, it was a particularly hard week. I'm back in Spain from Germany, and these were just random interviews. They were amazing. And then I felt myself be very much suddenly in my heart because I tend to be in my head, and Mark over here tends to be more in his heart, which is why we're balanced. But I tend to be more in my head. It's not like I always feel this like heart, just this calmness. Anyway, so after that, I said, that's interesting. Maybe it's a synchronous, we were talking a lot about the heart in these episodes. And then, of course, I had that feeling. Okay, that kind of sense of calm. And after that, I had a friend reach out from high school. We haven't seen each other in 5 years. We actually haven't seen each other. Well, we haven't really hung out for a lot of years, but we last have spoken, I would say about 4 or 5 years ago. And she didn't say like hi or how's it going or where do you live like normal people, like long lost friends, they would just chit chat and then get into the details. She just sent a screenshot of a guy online that she met and she said, "Do you know him?" Um, and she mentioned she blocked him. So I said, "Of course I know him." And because we're mutual friends on Facebook, all three of us are mutual friends. He started talking to her because she was a friend of mine. This was after I politely declined his invitation for a meeting. So she also declined actually a date. And after that, we had a 2 hour conversation, of course, to Mark disappeared, but we'll let him. Mark is our goofy co-host, and he wears glasses because he has
Still a
like
lot of sun in Florida.
he's
Heat,
in
sun, glare, not
heat
good for my
on
eyes.
glare. So we basically had a 2 hour conversation, mainly talking about the dating scene in America and Europe, and it's not looking so great for us ladies. And we didn't really know where this was going. And somehow I decided, I don't know why, but something has told me that Adam, basically Adam and Eve, Adam was the one that ate the apple. And now Mark is going to talk about that because I got this information from Mark and we have a lot of conversations. So we're going to go into that later
Well,
in the
that's the history. The history is Adam ate the apple.
Adam ate the apple. Her
That's
response,
history.
her response was really because that's strange you say that. This week I had a dream with a wax figure of Adam and he came to life. Now, out of all the possible dreams and possible conversations you could have with your long lost friend, it was Adam. That
Yeah.
was a couple of synchronicities happening. If you're open to it, it happens every day. For me, it happens every day in the last 2 years. So
I don't find that
go
strange at
for it.
all because Adam's right at the beginning, right? Now, when you want to understand something, you go back to the beginning.
So what does this mean, Mark? Like I gave you a condensed version of the multitude of synchronicities happening
Right.
this week.
Well, I mean, what it means is we'll find out, right? Like in time, what it means, right? We don't know what it means, right? But there are coincidences here. So the fact that this was an old friend, like a good friend of yours that you hadn't, heard it from in 5 years, and then suddenly, uncannily, you have this connection made, that's a coincidence. And it's meaningful because it's an old friend, right?
Yeah.
Then there was the talk about this person online by the name of Joshua. Well,
Mhm.
names are important, right? And yeah, Joshua, it happens to be my son's name is Joshua, right? So now we've got a connection between like the name and two people and two other people. We have like this connection. Now we're talking about Adam and Eve. Well, we've talked about Adam and Eve before. We talked about it to the extent that one day I came to you and I said, you know what? What happens if that story is wrong? What happens if it actually happened the other way? What happens if like Adam, um, well, the story is that Eve, right, we'll call it the weak one, Eve, the weak one, coerced, well, ate first and then gave it to Adam and said, eat it, right? And Adam did, right? And that's how original sin started, right?
Yeah.
Well, let's say if the story is not true. Let's say if Adam, like the serpent came to Adam and said, eat the apple, and Adam said, like, fuck you, get out of my fucking way, right? And really it was like Eve that initiated it, right? But you see, history, like if you take a look at it, is his story, right?
Yeah.
HIS is story, it's history. And now, like what's going on now, we're getting like a changing of the guards, right? Now, society is much more feminine. In fact, most things are run by women. And this isn't something that just randomly happened out of the blue, right? I mean, Carl Jung predicted it, right? He predicted it in a number of his books, including Answer to Job. And
Who was a
we're
character in
still,
your book?
who, what, where, when, what,
Say,
who?
whom was a character in your book, Joe?
Well, yeah, Jo Hart, right? She's a Jungian psychologist, so she understands what the unconscious and what Jung is trying to say about the unconscious and what archetypes are and things like that. So she has good awareness of that, yeah. But he predicted this. He said that what was like once like God is one and then became duality, and then through Christ Trinity will be the what he called the quatern Godhead or whatever. He called it something or other. But the idea is that society is going to change towards the feminine because we had Father, Son, and Holy Ghost. They're all masculine, right? And so this was a radical change of thought. 125 years later, this is exactly what we have, right? So
And
go
and
back to the story, right? And
and,
let's say
and
the story was wrong. Let's say it was the opposite. Kind of weird, but something
well,
to think about.
I think there's a little bit of a lag time with your internet, but sometimes your face is a little, but we could still hear you. Maybe it's my internet. Maybe it's divine intervention.
Could be. See, you don't know until after, right? It's only when you look back, right? And you say,
Yeah.
with your retrospect, you say, well, that's what it meant, or that was a sign. And well, I missed that. Or you put more of the pieces together. Okay, now, do we need to want to talk about more? Or?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're going to dedicate this entire episode to synchronicities.
Okay. But let me just look and see what I wrote to you, because usually, like if you have some event and it's really emotional, just write something down, because you're never gonna be a better time. Like it's just so emotionally charged. Boom, it comes out. So it's just what I wrote, right?
Yeah.
So what I wrote was, wow, right? Because the whole thing is like, wow. My feeling is that messages are sent through people. Signs sent from the universe that are meant for them, but are meant even more for other people. Joshua, it was meant for me, right? The guy's name, right? This is how synchronicity works. Why familiarity becomes manifested between people, between times and lives. If you believe in past lives, synchronicity is what synchronizes past and present, right? Like we are part of one great big generational family, right? So the roots of the word, like familiarity, right? It's family and familiar and famine and fame, all things that humans know, right? All are known and experienced to everyone at one time or another, or on Earth in similar ways. Take us, right? Um, this is true. Look at the enclosed Facebook friends note that I sent you, right? It was captured on the 25th of December in the year 3, right? That's Christ's birthday, right?
When you send
So
me a friend request on Facebook?
this is a request that I got from you, right? You don't even maybe even know about it, right? But it was
No, I
sent into
don't
us.
actually. And
Yeah,
I
and
was
then
looking for
because
you
we
on
met through
Facebook and I
various sort of circumstantial like coincidences, right? Like
yeah.
there was like um uh
Did you accept my friend request? Because I was trying to find you on
no, it came
Facebook.
after. You see, it came, I probably paid no attention to it whatsoever, right? And then I got it on the memory date, right? Because they do that. They send it each anniversary. By the
Yeah.
way, birthdays are a big synchronicity, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, let's
So I
talk
got it,
about
right?
that.
And so, but it's interesting that it was on the 25th of December, '03. I mean, that's like, what's this about? Like referring to Christ. And well, it's interesting. I mean, anyways, now what else did I say here? I said focus on the process and connections, right? A girlfriend from the past, this life or past life, suddenly speaks about Joshua, a friend mutually known. Joshua just happens to be the name of my son, a Hebrew name meaning God saves. Connection between people that was blocked now suddenly opens. Why?
And why now?
Yeah.
Is it unblocking of the heart?
Yes. Don't you think so?
Well, I'm just catching up with synchronicities.
You're receiving signals, right? Like something's happening. Like this is electrical, or this is, you know, um, there is a physical means by which this is happening. As for example,
Well,
the original synchronicity when Carl Jung, it happened when he was meeting with Sigmund Freud, of course, because that's going to be the most charged situation you're going to find, right? And he had to tell him that no, I'm not going to be following your line of thinking, and I'm going to be developing my own line. And boom, the whole dresser started to shake or whatever. And he called it something like force externalization, or I don't know what he called it. And he told it to Freud, and Freud said it was bullshit. He said, well, it'll happen again. And it did.
well, it's sort of also, I teach communication on my other channel called Make It with Alice, and I had about 3 student calls, and they all asked the same question and shared the same sentiment of, I'm having a tough time expressing myself and not just presenting, but really connecting with people on deeper topics. And I had that same conversation with 3 other people in the course of 48 hours. So these synchronicities happen all the time. And you've mentioned that the biggest synchronicities of your life is your name and your birthday. Can you tell
My
us about that?
story.
Because what is
Sure.
that for you?
Well, I mean, numerology explains synchronicities better than anything else. So,
Mhm.
and numerology is not difficult. To get into anything like mathematics, it's a very difficult subject, but to know the basics, just like the sheer basics of it, is not that complicated, right? So um, yeah, you're born, and you have a birth date, and there's various methodologies to go through to get your numerology, but the easiest one is just to write down your birth date. 15th of September 1959 is mine.
Mhm.
And then you just draw what's like a triangularization of it. And this is how it works. Like the left side is from your mother's genetics, and the right side is from your father's genetics. And then you have 4 numbers from each, and the two combine to form one, and the two combine to form one, and then those two combine to form one, and then you get all these extra numbers by certain formula, and then boom, you've got your numerology. So the numerology really consists of 6 numbers. Okay, there's a number that's your main number, and then there are 5 other numbers, right? So numerology for me is 3, and that describes my character very well. Like I'm a mediative character, right? I felt that in the family, I was like there to like mediate between the sides, and like you know have achieve peace within the family. That was my role, right? I said that when I was like 12. This is my role in the family, right? Didn't really know what it meant, but like then I became a doctor. Well, I'm a mediative again, right? I'm mediative between like patients and systems and all sorts of different things. And my family line is teachers, and they're the most mediative teachers, right? Teaching and learning and students, etc. And so I've come to understand what 3 mediative is, and the symbol is Christ, because he was the mediative of everyone, right? He was, Trinity is 3, so 3 is very understandable. Like it's not complicated, right? Either is one. One is God, right? God is one. It's like comes from Hebrew Bible, right? So 2 is not hard to understand. Is duality of everything, basically, in the earth, like that we see. Everything has got a dual nature, right? Um, So 1, 2, and 3 are not difficult, huh? They're not hard, right? 4 is not hard either. Four is news, right? 4 directions, right? 4 corners, whatever you want to call it, right? News, by the way, is north, east, west, south, right? 5 is hard. I'm going to leave 5. 5 is the hardest one to figure out. 6 is perfect. Okay, 6 is a perfect number. Why? Because 1 plus 2 plus 3 equals 6. 1 times 2 times 3 equals 6. Two different operations, same result. So in mathematics, 6 is the perfect number. So that's not hard either. 7. What do you think 7 represents?
Cycles?
No, it's really quite easy. Just what comes to mind? 7.
7 days of a period, 7 days of a week,
Yes, 7 days of the week. That's right. Yeah, it's a cycle for
seven,
sure.
every 7 years we change. So I think of cycles when I think of seven.
Um, yeah, well, cycles does have 7 letters in it.
Cycle? C-Y-C.
Cycles, cycles,
Oh,
or maybe
cycles.
I'm okay.
Life path 8.
Yes, yes.
In-
Well, seven's heaven. Okay, so 7 heaven, 7th heaven, 8. Okay, 8 is fate. 8 is fate.
Infinity,
In
builder,
the infinity symbol, yes, it's the 8 turned on its side, right? So 8's fate.
as above, as below, builder,
As above, as
translator.
below. 4 4. 4 4 time, right? Yeah. 2020, right? Come on.
And it's really
Yes.
interesting because when you look at it from this perspective of numbers, you see that if I look at all of my job experience, if you guys look at your professional history and you understand your number, if I go into any job I was a speechwriter for an ambassador in New York at the Sri Lankan consulate. What was I building? Scripts. I was building speeches. I'm a YouTuber, a teacher. What am I building? Lesson plans, building the YouTube channel. And I had a startup once that I built a company. So when I was a manager of a store, I built out a team. So every single position professionally required some sort of building infinite energy, infinite opportunities, potential. And yes, I'm a teacher, so that's infinite potential and empowerment. And the sky's the limit. And so when you understand your number, then would we say
I
that
do. I see what you're saying. Like there is no limit. It's anything is possible.
it's infinite? 8 for me is infinite.
Mhm,
Like
mhm. That
I
makes
don't
sense.
understand like the ceiling, right? So that has its positives and negatives, of course, because
Mhm. Everything
and
does.
you always have the shadow side. You always have like the positives and the negatives. There's polarity, right? We live in polarity. We have
Well,
our image
it's
and then we have our shadow side.
it's a very interesting number. It's 2 cubed. In other words, 2 times 2 times 2. So if you
Mhm.
want to think about it in a different way, it's the three-dimensional world add in time. In other
Oh
words,
yeah,
space-time, right?
space-time emergence.
Well, there you go, right, right. So eight's really is fate. Eight's fate. So like fate occurs in the astrologically in the eighth house, right? That's where your fate's going to be determined.
So that's the first one is your birthday. What about your name? Let's talk about the name.
Okay, we've got to do 9. 9 is the wild card, so we'll just leave it at that. Okay,
Reason.
so
Reason.
name, yeah, so names are really important, really important. Like Jewish mythology, which is Kabbalah, right? We are the tribe of name of book. Okay, we're the tribe of book, and books are named, right? Like, so names are important, and like, I mean, in our religion, like we've got Abraham, and I like think about Abraham like Abe, call him Abe. That's quite early in the alphabet, Abe. Yeah. So is Ace, by the way. So you're starting right from the beginning. And okay, so he's the father of faith for the Jews. Is that a coincidence? I don't think so, right? I think names really do tell your destiny, right?
Abraham
This
A,
is
father of Jews, the
right,
beginning.
right. So Abe, his destiny was fulfilled, right? Now, just because you have that as a name doesn't mean your destiny's gonna be fulfilled. You have to fulfill it, but that's the potential. That's where you're going, right? So me, Mark. So Mark is means God of war. So this is my destiny. Now, who am I at war with?
Yourself.
That's right. So you're at war with yourself. That's absolutely right. So good. That's great. So, but once you understand that, your life sort of, so okay, now I understand what's going on here, right? So yeah. So it's a it was a very common name in the Roman time. It was like the most common name, I think. And mark, well, what does mark mean? Right? You're gonna mark something, right? Like X marks the spot, or we're gonna mark something. So
Well, when you
so
say
yeah.
war,
So
when you say, actually, I'm going to add something here. When you say war at yourself, your profession as a doctor dealing with addiction, dealing and then psychedelic medicine, since you're at war with yourself, you understood the behaviors of addicts, people with, or people with serious psychotic disorders and diseases. Does that have anything to do with the fact that your name is Mark?
yeah, it does. It does. It does.
Everything is
And
linked.
it's not all so direct, right? But um, I needed to understand things. If I'm going to be able to mediate, I need to understand it. So everything I do, it goes back to first principles. It's like learn it once, and then you've got the methodology, and you can work with it, right? So I needed to learn things because of my name and my number, right? That was going to be my path. So, um, and so I did, and that's how it works for me. Numbers really work for me because mathematics was one of my first loves. Like, because my first love was space. Like, I just 2001, um, just the imagery and like, wow, that's what I want to do, right?
You had
However,
space and I had art, and art is math, and so is love. It's
yes,
also,
yes, love is like 52. If you just draw it out, you'll see the heart, right? Yeah. So okay, so name and
birthday.
birth date, they do have meaning if you can recognize it yourself. Like, let's take, I just give you an example of a way of thinking. Okay, so let's take somebody that everybody knows. We'll say Adolf Hitler. Everyone knows about him, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Most people know about him. So, how is his destiny formed by his name, right? Well, there's a certain kind of shortcut that people use when they read books, and it works like this: they scan the first part of the thing, and then they scan the ending.
Hmm.
That's where it is, and then the rest they just don't really read, but they
Yeah.
get the gist of it. They get the gist of it. So Adolf starts with an A, first letter in the alphabet, right? And ends with, um,
F.
well, it ends with ER. So, sorry, ER, Adolf Hitler. ER is the end,
Oh
right?
yeah, Hitler, yeah.
So AER, does that mean anything? Not really. I can't see what that means. But if you add in the um, D and the O, right? And then you got a doer. And that no doubt about it, this man did. Okay. And
Oh
I may
wow,
say
yeah,
that
I didn't think about that.
you may say that he was like, an evil sort,
But he
and
did. He was
but
effective.
he was a doer. He did things. Okay. He acted, right? So that's his destiny. So he fulfilled it. Now he could have fulfilled it in a better way, right? But he fulfilled it, right?
Absolutely. And
Mhm.
then, when it comes to synchronicities, and this is one of the questions I had, right? When I understood, okay, I am a life path 8. I get it. Alice in Wonderland, going on many adventures. Who would have known? I've been to 40 countries, lived in 6, and had 6 different careers, always going on an adventure. Adelaide in German means the noble one. So my name comes from the Germanic heritage. Then, if you really look at a Germanic
And
lineage,
it does. You have done some research, and you do have noble lineage.
and I have noble lineage,
And it's in your
both
name, which means
genetically and
you have a
spiritually.
exactly. You've got a connection
And
between genetics, right? Just
so
transmitted in your mind.
one of the questions that I had is, so if I'm fate, life path 8 is fate, then should I just like not do anything and just like things will happen how they're supposed to happen. Like, how does will play into this? I think this is what
Well,
a lot of people
okay, so will means like you want to do something, right?
yeah.
Well, if you want to do something on your own, then yeah, I think that it's just going to come. Whatever fate, whatever it is that you do, um, fate will determine. Now, but if you want to do something with somebody else, that's where it gets interesting. Because let's take me and Andrea, my wife, right? So I'm I'm a 3, right? And she's a 6. So she's perfect and I'm mediative, right? So together we're 9, right? Well, nine's a wild card, but what does this mean? Okay. Well, I'm going to tell you numerologically what it means. So 9, if like together as a 9, right? We can interact and in a pleasant way with anybody. And why can this happen? Like it happens for 2 reasons, right? They can be themselves and we can be ourselves. And
Mm.
that's important because when you put up defenses and masks and now you're not us, etc., it doesn't work. So how does it work numerologically? Well, let's say I was with you, right? And so I'm going to interact with you. I'm a 9 and you're an 8, right? So if you add them, what do you get?
17. So it's an
And
8.
if you add 1 and 7, what do you get?
8.
Which means you can be yourself.
Okay. And
Now,
but
let's
you
take
are
9 and take 8. Now let's multiply it. What do you get 9 times 8?
72.
And what's 7 and 2?
9.
Okay. Together, we can be ourselves. So this is how it works, right?
And you and I, so I'm an 8 and you are a 3.
Well, the other part I sort of did with Andrea, but because the nines work because they're magic, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Because
got it.
nines
Yeah,
work with anybody.
no,
It
that's
doesn't
the
matter who they are, right? You can be any number, and nines allow them to be themselves. And 9, as me and as
so
together, me and my wife, well, it just happens that way. We don't have to do anything.
so it's almost like a pathway of least resistance. So what if we actually navigate this life by aligning with people
You
numerically?
don't think that that happens?
Subconsciously, not for me, subconsciously, not
Consciously,
consciously.
right. That's what I mean, right. Like you think that when you say something like, "Well, I feel aligned," you mean you have kind of vibrate at the same frequency.
Yeah. And I guess
You're in the
frequency
same
is a chart.
mathematically in the same group.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, for sure, absolutely. I mean, some people you're interacting with, and you're going like, "Wow, like I don't know what's going on or what they're meaning or anything," right? So you're not synchronized, right? But us, we're very synchronized. We know, like you said, I had this thought and then I had a dream. And so it's really precognition is what you're talking about. And
Mm,
all these things like precognition and nuanced words like that, they're all synchronicity, right?
yeah.
Because it's supernatural, right? It's not reason. It's not logic, right? Its
Yeah.
path doesn't work by reason, by logic. Okay,
It does
that's the
not.
thing.
It does not.
Most people believe, at least in the 20th century plus, and especially in the Western world, that things work by logic, right? By rational thinking, by reason. But they don't. They work by meaning, and meaning works by synchronicity. Now you can
Exactly.
got to get around in this world. Like if you start like not working with logic, not understanding reason, not working with rationality, you're going to get nowhere because our whole world is that. But all
Well,
I'm
you
saying
do
is that
get somewhere. You do get somewhere. Your heart and spirit and soul is so collapsed, and it's perfect in design because God creates an opportunity for you to self-correct, usually through a tragic incident, a near-death experience, or disease, correct?
okay, sure.
One assessment.
You're right. I mean, like you're right. It's a trial, and the
It's a
trial is
trap.
not easy, right? I mean, purposely, you're given capacity and
Mm.
enough of it to pass your trial, but it ain't going to be easy. So,
And I actually challenge for those of you that are watching and finding it super interesting, as I find it, to take all of the assessments, whether it's personality assessments, love language, if ADHD even, Any assessment, work related, like performance, any kind of assessment. Um, I have taken about 6 or 7, and then get your results and then run it through ChatGPT and see if it points to your number, the number of your birthday. So for me, it was life path 8. And I can tell you for all the 8 tests or 7 tests I've taken, and I tried to be like, this must be wrong, it all pointed to the same thing.
Yeah, because they're all really talking about the same thing, right? Just different means of getting there. And like we talked a lot about numerology. Numerology is really it's one that most people don't really think about, but it's really cool the way it works. And but astrology is something that's old, right? And it works great. Like
It
I'm a
works
Virgo,
great,
right?
and we have forgotten it. People are super uncomfortable. So I really, the reason we're talking about these topics is we're shedding light into what makes a lot of us uncomfortable. We're going to have a lot of episodes coming up. Every other Sunday, we will release a new episode, either with our guests. That's going to be one playlist. Another playlist is just going to be conversations between Mark and I, because I think we should definitely have these discussions. And Mark, we got about 2 minutes left. Do you have a last minute thing you want to tell the audience before I close it up? Wrap up the episode?
Tune in.
Tune in,
Tune in.
guys.
We have more. We've got more.
We got more. So thank you so much, Mark. Again, guys, the Emergence podcast welcomes voices from across various fields who offer new insights into what it means to evolve consciousness and awaken our entangled quantum world. So please stay tuned. This is only the beginning. Please subscribe, leave comments in the description. Let us know what topics you would like for us to cover by emailing us, which is also in the description of this channel. Thanks, Mark.
Thank you.
Have a good one, everyone.